Welcome back to another episode of the Frustrated CEO podcast. I cannot believe this is episode 70 for us. I have no idea how we got to 70 episodes. Listener, thank you, because we wouldn't be around if it weren't for you. I'm here with two of my favorite people in the universe, Leb Tannenbaum and Patsy Feeman. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Good morning. And we have a very special guest today who I have the honor and privilege of introducing. And then we collectively have the honor of putting her on the hot seat for not just this episode, but for another episode after. And we'll talk about that in a moment. So our guest today is Marianne O'Brien. Marianne is the founder and CEO of OBI Creative, which is a brand strategy, advertising, and experience firm serving clients across the globe. And full disclosure, they're actually serving us. We are one of their clients. They are fantastic helping us with branding our podcast and our business. So we can speak from experience. Now, most recently, OBI was recognized as one of Inc. 5000's fastest growing companies. Marianne is a former Fortune 100 CMO and is continually recognized as a pioneer in the marketing and technology industries, partnering with brands in retail, digital convergence, and the wireless space, just to name a few. She's also the author of a brand new book, Ask and Deliver, and I'm holding it up. For those who are listening, we also have a YouTube channel where you can watch these episodes. You can see all of our shining faces. I'm holding up Ask and Deliver, which is already a bestseller, and it's available in hard copy and as an audiobook. And when she's not working on brand strategies, Marianne is living her best life, traveling the country to soak up what's next. Marianne O'Brien, welcome to the Frustrated CEO podcast.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, I've already alluded to the fact that we're going to have you on for two episodes. This episode, the primary focus today is Marianne O'Brien, the CEO, someone who has built a business. Actually, Marianne's a serial entrepreneur. We may get into that through the course of our episode today, but has built OBI, as I mentioned, to be on Inc. 5000's fastest growing companies. So we want to dig into what does it mean to be a CEO of a company that's scaling and growing like that. Talk about the bumps in the road and the successes. And then we're going to bring Marianne back for another episode to talk about, put her on the hot seat as a thought leader in the brand strategy and marketing space. So let's stay in the CEO role today. Marianne, as CEO, let's go back to Ask and Deliver. Ask and Deliver is a core value for you. That's my understanding is it's actually a campaign that you did almost 20 years ago. You've now written a book about it. Why is Ask and Deliver so important? I'd say to you, but then why, from your perspective, should it be so important to businesses?
Well, I think, from my perspective, I spend a lot of time thinking about really complex things, and our job in advertising and in branding is to take complex down to simple. And so for me, Ask and Deliver really is a way to simplify the relationship that we're trying to connect with the customer on. And so Ask and Deliver, the middle part of that is to listen. And so I think the ethos behind it are, if you ask someone a question, it's a human truism that they're going to probably answer you. And it also implies that you care. And so when you ask, you're starting a relationship, you're starting to engage and allow somebody to share their thoughts and the things that might be meaningful to them. And then once you hear those things, you actively listen, then you can deliver. So it's taking like really, really complex things and taking it down to really simple stuff we learned in, frankly, kindergarten. For me, that's what Ask and Deliver is about, just building relationship and having enough respect for that relationship to deliver on what you're hearing. And I think if more businesses did that, they, the CEO could sleep better at night, because that's really any CEO. You didn't get to be a CEO without asking, listening, and delivering. So if you knew that you had an army of, really engaged people that were always asking, really curious, listening actively, and then delivering on that, would allow you some rest at night.
I love that, and as simple as it is, it's very profound. It's like almost a counterintuitive move because we, especially in
Yeah.
our current business climates, like the complexity.
Yeah, and you can get lost in the complexity and swimming around in a whole bunch of like mung and not really get to the heart of the matter. And really, at the end of the day, if you have a good solution, you want to be able to deliver it to your customers. The best way I've found to do that is to ask a lot of questions and then align what we're good at to delivering to meet whatever we learned.
I feel like the challenge there is so many of us, and I'm guilty of it myself sometimes, so many of us we listen to respond instead of listening to understand. And right, and when we do that, I think we're rushing to deliver because we think we know what the customer's saying. We can deliver the wrong thing, right? Expectations aren't met. They get frustrated. We get frustrated. Unhappy customer.
I say this a lot in meetings with clients, and I mean it with love, but it's not about us. It's about them. So no matter what relationship, it's not really about us, it's about them. So especially in business, to be thinking so hard about your response is more of a hedonistic approach versus to be just like opening up, just sitting back and listening and letting the other person tell you what they need. And then, taking a beat and then responding. And I'm guilty of listening to respond too, but I try really hard to remind myself and my team and my clients that it's not really your brand especially is not really even owned by you anymore. Your brand is owned in the hearts and minds of the people who engage with it. And that's sort of a complicated thing to sort of wrap your brain around, but it really isn't about what you say your brand is. It's the experience that you provide to the customer. That's the brand that they see, and that's the value. The value that they place is the value of your brand. It's not the value that you.
So what you're saying is it's a practice. Listening and delivering is a practice that we have to keep coming back to over and over again.
It is.
Yeah. I know Patrick mentioned that you are very entrepreneurial, and I believe one of your first work experiences was with Gateway Computers. So I would love to hear more about how that experience started to shape your approach towards this ask and deliver mindset value system.
Well, I think I'm raised in a family of entrepreneurs. And so I think it probably started earlier than Gateway, but Gateway was, when I think about my time at Gateway, I was 22. Gateway was almost at the top of their game. We weren't there yet, but we were really close. And so Gateway was moving so fast and I was so young, and I joke, but I'm very serious. Like if you had half a brain and a beating heart back then, they'd throw you into the deep end of the pool and let you do whatever, because we just needed people to get the work done because they were just, growing so fast. And so for me, again, I probably went into like, fear mode of, I don't know what I'm doing. And so how can I be sure that I'm doing something right? I need to ask a lot of questions. So I Gateway was always very entrepreneurial and curious. And so there was a lot of collaboration happening and lots of critical thinking, like real time. You got to make a decision. You don't have 3 days to figure this out. So we had to get as much data as we could and then make a decision. And the other part of Gateway, the whole business was based on direct to consumer. And that was long before direct to consumer was a pervasive, a way of doing business. And so we had access to people's conversations. We could get on a call and listen to the sales call. And I was in marketing, so I could sit in and listen on a sales call about a product, what they understood, what they didn't understood. And that gave me great insights into being able to design an ad that would connect better or answer a question more intuitively, or even down to product development, hearing, about some configuration that wasn't working and why. We could almost just in time switch things up to respond to the desires of the customer. Our founder Ted Wade would stand on tables and he would say, I don't care what we're selling. We could be selling anything at Gateway. All you got to do is have a relationship with your customer and deliver on that. And you'll be able to, the money, the work, everything will follow. And I, lapped that up. I was so young and impressionable that, I really believed that. And it's been a big part of I feel like success as a leader and as a business owner. So I'm grateful to Gateway.
Great, thanks. And it sounded like, as we were talking earlier, it aligned with your values.
Completely.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that the other day, and I was like, gosh, how did I get so lucky to get dropped into an entrepreneurial business in the middle of South Dakota, and I'm from Iowa, and it was, I just don't even know how I got so fortunate that to be sort of my career platform, to then catapult me into which other areas has just been really a gift.
But if I'm not mistaken, and correct me if I'm wrong, the reason you applied to Gateway was because your father suggested it. You've spoken a lot, not in this episode, but to us in other conversations about the influence of your father. Basically raised you as an entrepreneur. What did you learn from him about business? And then, since this is Marianne, the CEO, what did you learn from him about leadership?
Yeah, my dad, I always felt like my dad was such a big fish in a small pond. I grew up in a small town, 10,000 people, and my dad owned carpet stores. But my dad was so global in the way that he thought, and he was totally dialed in. He's watching the news, reading everything, consuming information all the time. And then, at night, I'm one of 6. At night, we would talk about current events. He would give us scenarios. So he was training us to be real critical thinkers from an early age. That I didn't know it at the time. I thought everybody operated that way, but I've learned, they don't. And so I think my dad's just approach to life, he was full of life and he was super charismatic and fun. And one of his major lines was like, there's always room for more. You can always learn more. You can always open up more to, meet other people, learn from them. And so in a small town where everybody sort of looked the same, my dad was just very, very global. And he raised a bunch of kids that have no fear of business and really believe in ourselves. And I think, for me, he I guess the most important thing I think that he did was he just believed in me. And I think that anybody who wants to build a business, own a business, lead a business, somebody's got to believe in them, because there's lots of times when things are lonely. And so I always, I do not know that I can't do things. Anything I did, my dad thought I could do the best at, and I believe that. And so I have this, maybe too big of ego, but I try to keep it in check. But yeah, he just was he loved business. He thought business was a great platform to give you anything you wanted in this life. And he believed in people.
When I hear ask and deliver, I think more about the customer. But let's take it internally, right? To you as a leader and developing a culture where internally people are just as curious about each other or about how to build this business and it's scaling and growing. What are some of the hurdles? Are you doing any training around inquiry? Are people taking notes to follow up and deliver? And then the execution piece is like a whole other conversation. But just curious how you see that right now.
Yeah, I believe that your most important customer is your employee, because I firmly believe that how you treat your employees, how they're going to treat your customers. So, if you want people to ask and listen and deliver, you need to do that for them so they know how to model that to your customer. And so, have I been perfect at that? No, but I've spent the last probably 5 solid years thinking a lot harder about my employees and the relationship that I have with them than I did in the previous 15 years. And so I know hand on heart that if you ask and listen and deliver for your employees, that they will do the same for you. And again, I think it just goes back to that simple human truism of asking someone a question implies that you care about. If you care about someone, you can start to form a relationship. If you have a relationship, it it's hard to tell your friend no. It's hard to ignore a call from your friend if there's some substance in the relationship. And so I just spent a lot of time talking about this is about relationships. Life is about relationships and figuring out what matters most to your customer. And if your customer is your employee, they have different needs than your end customer. But at the end of the day, they're probably rooted in the same things, like to be respected, to be considered, to be appreciated. And I think that's what all customers really want. They want ease, convenience, a good deal, to feel like they matter. And when you do that, they'll fight for you and they'll advocate for you, and they will overlook maybe some things that weren't perfect in the experience, as long as they know that you really care and are improving. So it's been great. And yes, we've been doing some leadership training, as you guys well know. Shout out to my team, Culture by Design. And we also I've been doing a little bit of business training recently, because what I've learned again, I thought everybody was raised the same way. You only know what you know. So I'm thinking, people understand business. We're an ad agency. They understand how this all works, right? No, probably not. And I've learned over the years that they don't. So just having some business 101 classes to help people understand, how the macroeconomics impacts our clients and our employees, and then how, we can use our craft to support their needs in a different way, or how, what's going on today with, the inflation rates, how's that going to impact our banking clients here? What does that mean? How can we proactively be, the best partner we can be, because we know, how busy they are and the pressures they've had. So those are the kinds of business trainings that we're having. And then I think we have this ethos, like you talked about at OBI, which is, ask, listen, deliver, improve. So Aldi, not like the grocery store, but it's, our acronym is ask, listen, deliver, improve. And it's this infinity loop, and it's a practice, exactly what Patsy said. It's like a muscle that you have to use if you want it to get better. And so even down to the way that we are doing performance reviews or annual reviews, it's being set up in that format. So, did you ask? Give us an example of when you listen. What happened? How did you deliver on that? And then, what did you find? Did you go back and look at the results? And what did you learn? Because asking doesn't just mean, a verbal ask. It can be looking at the analytics and really diving in to say, oh, the results weren't as good as we wanted them. So now what can we do to improve? So really thinking about the relationship, not in a transactional way, but more in a long-term relationship.
That's great.
Lots of training all the time. I talk about it all the time.
Well, you are pointing to, it's not, you say something once and everybody gets it. It is a practice, and it's integrating that into, I love it that you're doing that in your performance reviews, because it's integrating it into everything you do as an organization.
It is. I mean, we're adding, that to the wall. We're, wherever we can, every touch point in your employee's journey is an opportunity to remind them of kind of the culture and the brand and how much they're considered and appreciated. Just like every touch point in the customer's journey is an opportunity to impact the brand from a positive or negative standpoint. And so, I'm trying to, myself and my ELT are trying to really think about all the touch points that really, the moments that matter to our employees, and making sure that ask, listen, deliver, improve is integrated into that. Because this business is complicated. When you think about the speed of technology, the speed of change in media, all of the different platforms. I mean, we have an ecosystem of thousands of different platforms that we have to have some knowledge on. And then we don't focus just in one industry. We say we focus on customers. So we've even complicated that from an advertising standpoint. So we could be working in retail, we could be working in finance, medicine, coaching, business consulting. We could be working along all kinds of different industries, and then have to take all the different technology and platforms. So we're always learning. There's so much complexity. So trying to help them, give them some guideposts in kind of that sea of all sorts of inputs to say, okay, what do I have to do? I have to ask, I have to listen, and then I have to deliver. And then I've got to take a look at those analytics and results and improve. And if I do that, I've done a good job. Because if people don't know what they need to do every day, they're not going to be engaged. They're not going to feel fulfilled.
One thing we haven't talked about, but every time I've been around you or OBI or some of your ELT, there's also an element of kind of fun and this kind of lively energy that we didn't talk about yet. How do you do all this and keep it lively and fun?
Well, I don't. I have an awesome team that does it. I mean, we have a culture club, and they really are completely engaged. My hat's off to them, because they spend every month. There's a group that is a volunteer group, and they meet and they talk about different activities that they'd like to do at the agency. And they have a budget. They work within their budget, and we support that. Quarterly we have town halls. Every month we have some culture club activity. We have Thirsty Thursdays, where we have a bar in our office where you can go have a drink, or you could have something to drink or not, but we get together because it is a lot of pressure. We feel very, very fortunate to get to work with the companies that we work with, and we take it very serious. So there's a lot of pressure, and so sometimes you just need to release that pressure. And we have a lot of creative people here. So we have full service creative team, full service design team, market research. So we've got a lot of different folks, and some of those people just need a break in order to allow their brain to shift into a different maybe dimension or a different target audience. So we think it's important for them personally, but we know it's has a positive impact on the business too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. There's always a lot of laughter there.
There is a lot of laughter. And I want to have a place where people are happy to come to work.
Yeah.
And, there have been lots of times when it's heavy here, but I think for the most part, we have, really happy people and a lot of laughter and fun. And we don't take ourselves so serious. I mean, I've said it a million times, like, we are not curing cancer here. This is not life or death. It's important. It's really important. And people have worked really hard to be able to afford what we're doing, but nobody's going to die over an ad. When we are very serious, and everybody, the people we hire are really, really good at what they do, and they take their career serious. But so I don't want to downplay that, but the truth is, like, we are not doing surgery here. No, we're good. Everything's going to be fine.
Thanks for listening to this current episode so far. We appreciate that. If you enjoy listening to leaders like this, as well as other CEOs and thought leaders who can help address the issues keeping you awake at night, then subscribe to the show, leave us a review, that would be helpful, and head over to our YouTube channel and subscribe to that as well. That way you can watch and not just listen. And if you'd like help with this topic or any of the topics that we've talked about, anything that helps you with strategic alignment, leadership development, and creating a high-performance culture, that's what we do. That's what our team at Culture by Design does. So head over to culturebydesign.com, schedule an appointment today. Costs you nothing. Schedule an appointment today. We'd love to talk with you about how we might help. Now let's get back to the episode. Marianne, you said earlier, you mentioned you're doing the business development with your people, and through us, we've been working on leadership development, specifically, primarily aimed with your ELT. I'm curious, for the listener, for the CEO who is contemplating investing in leadership development for their people, what have you seen? What are some of the benefits that you've seen from the leadership development that you've invested in your people?
Yeah, well, I think that's a great question, because I probably thought of leadership development as optional, up until probably 3 or 4 years ago. It's not, in my mind. I mean, it's a critical component to a successful business, and you guys have taught me that. And I am so appreciative of that. I think it's part and parcel to the success of your business. And so my team, my ELT is awesome, and they're all at different levels in their careers. Some are earlier in their careers, some are later in their careers, but we've still found a lot of value in just getting kind of a set of language that we can all operate within. Having it, what you guys have introduced to us, a safety net where we feel safe in just being really honest with one another. We're really nice here, but not always. We weren't always open and completely honest with each other because we don't want to hurt you. We don't want to offend you. But we've been better at saying, no, look, we've got a safety net in place. You know, if I've done something to piss you off, tell me. I won't do it again. That's not my intention. But rather than have a bunch of unsaid stuff, we are saying a lot more to one another. And that alone has, you know, improved our performance. We spend time thinking about the goals that we have. You know, our goals used to be all around revenue and growth, financial growth, which is great. You have to have, you know, that's important. But now we have goals and, you know, strategic initiatives around how to support that growth and how to scale with that growth. And I think that gives our people a little more peace of mind. And then we've even started to ladder up the leadership training for our middle management group because they were noticing that, you know, it was really improving relationships at the top, and we wanted to make sure that they had an opportunity to grow in their roles. So if they want to continue to move forward, they're in a good position to do that. But even if they just wanted to stay in the role that they're at, they have a lot of influence on their people below them, and they want to help those people realize their dreams and their goals. And so it's been great. And I mean it. I would star this. I would underline it. I would put a yellow marker. I wouldn't make it an option in your budget, just like I wouldn't make marketing an option in your budget. I would make it one of the, you know, an absolute. Whether it's a big percentage of your revenue that you can apply to it or not, I think, you know, getting in there and starting and having leadership development as, you know, part and parcel of your culture is, you know, just going to lead to more success.
So we're on the Frustrated CEO podcast. Do you have an example of something that frustrated you or kept you up at night, that and maybe how you resolved that? Or because, you know, a lot of our listeners recognize, yeah, it's some of this is hard. I don't know exactly how to deal with it, or and so yeah, anything that you can share, being the CEO and the leader of this fast growing organization.
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of things, but two things that are coming to my mind. The first thing is, you know, I move really fast. When I got dropped into Gateway, we were talking earlier about that. You know, that was a fast growing, crazy. You know, they were named 5,000 winner as well. I mean, so I didn't realize it, but my strengths fit that perfectly. You know, I'm an activator. I like to move. I feel like, you know, the world is moving too fast. I don't want to miss out on anything. Not everybody's wired that way. So I feel a lot of times I feel frustrated, and that's more an entrepreneur's frustration. And, you know, I'm an entrepreneur and a CEO. Sometimes I used to think like, maybe I'm holding people back. Maybe I shouldn't be in this role, because I would get so frustrated because I wanted things done faster. I wanted to move faster. But now, because of, you know, the work that we're doing with your team, I can see that we all want to go to the same place. I just sometimes need a governor on my speed so that everybody can accomplish their goals in a way that makes them feel confident. And so that's been really useful. So I think I've been very frustrated with speed to market. And it doesn't just apply to my employees. That applies to my customers. That applies to the world. So I just, you know, I want to go a lot faster than a lot of people want to go. And I've learned that this isn't a sprint. You know, this is a marathon. Business has cycles. And, you know, just, I've always said, just keep pedaling. You want to win, keep pedaling, don't quit. And so when, you know, if there's anybody out there that's frustrated, like, oh, I'm so over this, you know, I would just say, you're not, you have a lot to offer. You've forgotten more than most people know. Just keep pedaling, get yourself some help, and, you know, call Patrick and team up and see if they can help you, because it's a lot of times it's about confusion I think in our language, and taking the time with your people to help them get where you are, because you're dreaming of it, you're thinking about it, you're eating it, sleeping it, breathing it, and maybe they're not, they have other lives. And so just helping them get where you are can help you get what you want. So that would be the first, just my speed. That's an internal problem that I have with myself. But it's also been a huge benefit to the business. And I know any other CEO that's like resonating with this is like, well, that's my X factor. So I totally get it. Don't stop that. Just make sure your team catches up. And then the other part is like, I used to feel a lot of resistance. So I joke, but I'm very serious that I feel things for a living. Like I actually touch people. I feel things a lot. And that sounded weird. Like I touch people, but like I'll shake a hand. I can feel whether this is going to work or not. I don't know, call it instinct, call it intuition, but it is one of the tools that we all have. And for me, I could feel resistance when I would say to my team, hey, we're going to do this or that. And everyone would say, okay, yeah. But I could feel that they were saying, no, we're not going to do that. And that would really piss me off. And rather than address it, I would just sort of sit in my own frustration and not address it because I didn't want to hurt someone. Or maybe the honest truth was I didn't want to know the truth. Or I didn't want to have to deal with the truth because that's hard. Conflict is not my favorite thing. And so I've learned that, there's ways through like the safety net to have really productive conversations and say, look, I am feeling like you are saying yes, but meaning no. What is it that you're not connecting with? Or like, help me understand because maybe I'm missing something because, I'm a party of one here. So help me get more information so that I can make better decisions. Or maybe we don't need to do what I want to do. And there's good reason. But if I don't know why you're resisting, I'm just going to be frustrated. And that's not going to end well for the employee. So if I know, if they can have that mutual respect for me and I have a mutual respect for them, then we can have a open, honest conversation and, not be so frustrated.
I'm curious now, how have you talked about, it sounds like you've been on this journey the last handful of years. How have, talking to the CEO listener, how have you created the safety? And maybe it's, it's a combination of the safety net, but I'm sure it also has to do with how you respond, how you react. Because if you want to hear those answers, you're asking the questions that you asked. What's the hesitation? Help me understand.
Yeah.
How have you learned to respond or create safety so that they can tell you without worrying that they're going to be fired for it?
I think the issue before was I just wouldn't address it. And I think I am so wired to ask a lot of questions. I need to know why. If I can understand why, just like any human, then I can do what, I can adjust. But I think I thought as the boss, I had a vision, follow my vision, everything will work great, right? Or tell me no, but don't say yes and not mean yes. And so I think just me addressing things when I feel them, it has helped all of us. And I think me modeling that, then it empowers my people to feel safe, to say, Marianne, like, we got 38 million other things going. And now you want to start this business? Like, this isn't the right time. And for me to say, oh, you're right. Like, I'm getting more data and more understanding. And so for me, I think they realize, like, if I tell her why that doesn't make sense, she might not agree, but she'll understand why, and she respects me. So, she'll slow down on that. I may not, I want teams. I keep talking about teams. Let's set this place up in teams. My soul knows it's the right thing here, right? I've felt resistance for years on this. And we're talking more about teams now. They're proactively putting teams in place. We've always had account teams, but like teaming, like whole little agencies, mini agencies around clients. And so I think just being more willing and vulnerable on my end to take the time to deal with understanding and allowing, my people to feel safe in telling me what they want. I think then the other thing is we do a lot of research at OBI. And so we've done lots of surveys and studies and internally, and those surveys have told us, where we're doing things right and where we're doing things wrong. And we have to subscribe to our own medicine sometimes. And so we've spent, a fair amount of time at the ELT level and at our director level to say, look, what can we do to help these people? They need more time to think. We're not just, executing around here. If we really want them to ask, listen, and deliver, we have to give them more headspace. And so that might mean hiring more people, so we have a little more redundancy. That might mean, having more culture events so they can take a break and recharge. That might mean, summer Fridays where they get off a half day on Fridays in the summer so they can spend time with people they care about. I don't know if I'm over answering these questions, but
no, great.
They're just the things that we've been doing here to help, I think, have less, what I'd call resistance and more understanding.
Question, as you were saying, it might mean this, it might mean that. Is there ever a scenario where it might mean slowing the sales engine down? Or is that like,
yes. Well,
an honest question, like again, for a CEO, is it ever okay to slow the sales engine down, or is that a dangerous place to go?
Well, not only is it okay, it's frankly empowering. And so last year we, let's say we had 100 clients and 20 of them were delivering 80% of the revenue. So there were 80 clients that were taking a lot of time. They're wonderful people. We love them. We see their potential. We want to help them. But they don't generate anywhere near the revenue and the work that the top 20 do. And so we really had to take a good hard look and say, does it make sense to sort of rehome some of these clients that could be better served by maybe a smaller agency? Like, that is not something Marianne O'Brien ever was comfortable doing. I mean, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm afraid it's all going to be gone tomorrow, right? So last thing I want to do is give away customers. But so just even getting me a little more comfortable and maybe changing the mindset of me, the frustrated CEO, to be like, what if we did things just a little different than we've always done them? What could happen? And that's been really, really useful. This year we rehomed a few clients, and that opened up so much more headspace, and it drives so much more revenue and growth for us. So I think it's definitely something to consider if you're sort of at this mid-size and you're trying to scale. Can you be all things to everybody? Probably not. Like, what are you great at? What is your sandbox client? What is your perfect client? And trying to set up systems to support that perfect client and having the confidence in yourself and your organization that it's going to be okay. You might have to change things. We had to change a few things. Like, we had to make some hard decisions, but that's business. That's why we get paid more. We got to make hard decisions. We are a business development engine here. That's one thing. One sure way to ensure this company is to make sure we have enough clients. And but that hasn't, that used to be the truth. Today, the truth is we can keep this place is a great company. People will like us. They know our value. They're going to come to us. So let's find the right clients that fit our needs, and let's help those other people who have awesome businesses and awesome dreams, help find them the right partner that they can afford. Because at our price point, we aren't right for everyone, but we are super right for the right ones.
When I hear the word deliver, I think of also the word execute.
Yes.
And I'm just curious so that, other listeners can hear this. You're the CEO, right? So you're really concerned about the quality of the work. I mean, everybody is to some degree, but is there anything that you're doing that helps you relax and know that the customers are being satisfied, that the delivery is on point as expected?
Yeah.
Because we haven't talked about that yet.
No, I think that's great. I mean, yes. So we do a post, like a customer sat post-sale survey. So, and so we just ask our clients, how are things going? So we can get a kind of a pulse on how things are going. That's been one way to scale. We also break down our ELT is all assigned to different accounts. So the kind of the VP is their job is to make sure from a customer experience standpoint that things are going well. We're not delivering, but we're definitely keeping our finger on the pulse from a customer's quality, customer confidence, customer retention. One of our strategic initiatives is around retention. Because our success is our customer's success. If they're successful, they're going to stay with us. So really putting an emphasis around all the details, because it is really about the little things in life and making sure that you are asking, listening, and then delivering. And so on delivering to me is about execution too. And so we put some processes in place here that are that fit our employees. So, templates, guidelines, frameworks that they can work within. We've productized our services. That's kind of a mind bender term, but we really have. We've productized. We've figured out how to productize services, which is in a consulting environment where we're really what we're selling is brains. That's helpful because it's everybody's take otherwise on the deliverable. What is the deliverable in an ad campaign? Well, it could be A, B, C, or D, or it could be X, Y, Z. So helping people understand this is what we sell, this is the service and solution, and here's the deliverables in that. And you have latitude, but these are the guidelines. This is the minimum, this is the maximum. So just helping people through productization. Good. And I think many days I say, why didn't we just invent Windex? Why don't we just have one product here? Why did we make it so hard here? Because we're consultants, we're help. Everything is different. Every client need is a little bit different. But I think it fits, who we are. We're curious, we're innovative, we like to collaborate, and we love business. So, our goal at OBI is really to help people's dreams come true. And we think that the work that we do can help us help their dream become a reality. And that's awesome.
Leb, you got your final question. And Patsy, any final questions from you before we get practical?
I'm good.
Okay. Awesome. All right. Well, so listener, this is the part of every show. You know the drill. We've done this 70 times. How do you not know the drill? This is where we give you key points, key takeaways from today's episode, our conversation with CEO Marianne O'Brien, on specific suggestions, ideas, things that you can implement in your business to make progress, to grow, to enhance the areas that we've talked about today. So I'm looking at my colleagues who'd like to go first.
Yeah, I can. I have a whole page full, so I'm just looking at the page.
If you need a second,
I'll break it down to some of the simpler ones. Listen to understand, not to respond, to understand. That was let's get practical. Be curious always. Fund your culture and your leaders' development. Mm-hmm. Right? They're both alive. They're either going to grow or they're going to not grow or even shrink back to something. So fund it. It's essential. Patsy?
I loved you talking about being an activator. So I think from that, it's like know your core way of being, how you predominantly show up and the way other people predominantly show up and how it contributes and impacts the relationships and getting the work done. And let's see, there were a lot. I loved it. We were talking about branding. It's not about us, it's about them. Brand is owned by the hearts and minds of the people using that product or that service. As the leader, as the CEO, show your people that you care and that you believe in them.
Any more? You can
Not
pause.
for now.
All right, I've got many. I'll do a few, and then Marianne, we'll let you chime in, and then maybe we'll do another round if anybody has one or two they want to add. I love, Marianne, where you ended, where you said you have to create headspace for your people if you want them to do more strategy and problem solving. Right? They can't succeed in just a perpetual state of execution. Prior to that, you were saying you have to be willing to be vulnerable to address issues when you see them, when you feel them. That will help you not only alleviate that frustration, but it provides a good example for your people to follow. I thought that was astute. It doesn't matter what you're selling. All you have to do is build relationships with your customer, and the money and the business will come. And maybe I'll do one more, and then I'll pause for my. Actually, I'll pause there. Marian, what do you have? What would you add when you think about things a CEO can implement or do today, tomorrow?
Well, I mean, for me, one of the most important things is if I feel resistance, talk about it. Let's try to understand, seek to understand exactly what you guys said. That's really, really important. And I think one of our values is tenacity. And that's really what I mean by tenacity. Be tenacious enough to seek to understand. And if you feel resistance, if you're the CEO and you're feeling resistance, you're moving 100 miles an hour, you've got to stop and take time to adjust or ask those questions so you can understand why you're feeling that resistance so that you can get people aligned. And because that's what we want. We've got, this team, this machine behind us. So if you feel resistance, talk about it. And I think, it really is, if you are willing to take the time to ask, to do your research, you'll be in a much better place to deliver. And when you ask people a question, I do believe it implies that you care enough about them, and a relationship is more important than a transaction. And it's more important to the customer, and it's more important to the business. Hopefully that came across.
That was great.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody want to circle back and add one?
I'll add one. Recognize that your employees are a leader's customer. Can't lead if people aren't following.
Right. That's correct. Patsy, any more?
One's jumping out at me. You only know what you know. Don't assume that everybody else knows what you know.
That was a good point. Yeah. Awesome.
Patrick, you got one more?
No, I'm glad I paused because the ones that I didn't get to were then covered. So it's I feel like we've been doing this long enough that there's a mind meld that has happened. So I think that's awesome. I love doing this with you guys. Well, okay, Marianne, where can a listener find Ask and Deliver?
Oh, you can go to anywhere you buy a book, you can find Ask and Deliver, but the easiest place is go to Amazon and just look up Marianne O'Brien, Ask and Deliver. And you can do that. There's audiobooks or, physical books.
Yeah. And if someone is interested in connecting with you, is that through LinkedIn and potentially connecting with you or with OBI Creative? What's the best way to contact you?
Yeah, the best way is to connect with me on LinkedIn, or you can just call our office at 402-493-7999. For those people who don't use phones anymore, you can also just email us at mobrien, MOBRIEN, at obicreative.com.
Excellent. Marianne, thank you for joining us for this episode where we put you on the CEO hot seat, and we get to do this again. We get to bring you back and put you on the hot seat for our listeners who want to know more about branding, marketing, how that can position their business for success. So, listener, thank you for sticking with us for this episode, and make sure that you keep an eye out for that next episode, which should come out about 2 weeks after this one. And thank you for sticking with us to the end of another episode of the Frustrated CEO podcast. We wouldn't do this without you. Feel free. We'd love for you to connect with each of us on LinkedIn. Connect with Patsy Feeman, Leb Tenenbaum, and myself, Patrick Lyons, on LinkedIn, or you can email us, Patrick at thefrustratedceo.com, Leb and Patsy at thefrustratedceo.com. We'd love to connect with you. If you have ideas for a future show, that would be fantastic. We'd love to hear it. I think that's it. Anything else from my fantastic colleagues?
I think we got it.
Not for me.
Thank you, Marianne.
Thank you guys for everything.
All right. And listener, we'll see you again next time on the Frustrated CEO podcast.